Okay,
Like,
so you're taking the under.
I would
you
take
don't
the
think
under.
we'll hit $1 million pot?
No, just because not everyone is stacked that way.
Not yet.
Yeah, that's
And we've
true.
still
I
got
mean, ask me this
5
question
hours.
in a couple hours.
Right.
Like, all right, you know what? Let me change it.
I just feel like we're trending in that direction.
You know what? Did you know there's double straddle going on? Because that makes it more likely.
I asked the question without knowing that, by the way, and on the topic of not knowing things, we're back to mystery card action with Chen's straddle. A mystery to us, a straddle, by the way, that is pushing back on the double straddle. Elton, pocket threes, says, all right, let's take a peek.
In this hand from the Triton Poker Invitational Cash Game, where only one pro is allowed at the table, we are playing 1,000, 2,000, 4,000, 8,000. Everyone folds around to under the gun. Elizabeth Chen, she raises it up to $24,000 with a mystery hand. We have no clue what she has. We'll figure it out along the way, hopefully. Elton Tsang, in the big blind, will be playing his spot, I suppose. He has pocket threes, playing effectively $350,000 deep, so roughly 40 big blinds deep once you account for the straddle and the re-straddle. Whenever there's a straddle in play, that essentially halves the size of the game compared to the normal amount. And if there's a double straddle, it then quarters it, right? Okay, pocket threes, in position. This is a great spot just to call, see the flop, and go from there. When you're in position, you want to be 3-betting very polarized in general, which means a lot of your best hands and your junky hands that aren't quite good enough to call. Pocket threes flops really well. If you get a set, you love it. If you don't, you don't. So, let's go to the flop.
This is a single raise pot with 53K in the middle already.
That is not the board that Elton had in mind, ace, king, 10.
So Elizabeth Chen was the pre-flop raiser. With double straddle, this is the new small blind versus big blind in. Gonna see bet 15,000.
Flop comes ace of hearts, king of clubs, 10 of spades. Chen continuation bets, tiny, 15,000 into the $53,000 pot. Not a big bet at all. What I want to know before we move forward is what would you do with pocket threes in this situation? Take a second, think about it. Would you fold, call, bump it up to 45,000, or make it 85,000? Take a second, think about it. Let me know in the comments section down below. And while you're there, click the like and subscribe button for me, please.
Elton doesn't have anything, but he's in there.
Even though you are getting amazing pot odds, you simply have to fold the pocket threes in this situation. This hand has no future. Has a lot of gamble, but no future. This is a spot where if you do spike a 3, yeah, you probably have the best hand, but I mean, if you consider Elizabeth's pre-flop raising range, it's going to contain aces, kings, 10s, queen, jack. So you're not even necessarily going to turn the super nuts when you do make a set. It's not a hand you're going to be able to fold, of course, but it's not the super nuts. So this is a spot where I would definitely let this hand go, even getting good odds, even in position. Unless you think Chen's just like the weakest, tightest player ever, where she's going to check the turn a lot, and you're going to be able to bet the turn and jam the river and make her fold everything that's worse than maybe 2 pair, I would just fold this every single time. That said, Elton disagrees. Let's head to the turn.
Won't be the first nor the last time that we say that, and the 3 of diamonds savagely rolls off on the turn. Oh my goodness.
That's just wrong.
Well, Elizabeth checking, and by the way, that doesn't mean that she doesn't have a piece of this board, by the way. It's texture and action, whereby some of the pot control is a favorable line for a good number of the combinations that Elizabeth has. Facing his 65,000 and doing so out of position.
It's got to be interesting to Chen that Elton is betting quite large in this confrontation that's double straddled, because this board is not supposed to hit Elton, like in terms of having really big hands. So she's gonna keep him honest for now.
The turn is the dream card for Elton. He spikes the set. Elizabeth checks. At this point, Elton needs to build the pot. It is mandatory. Whenever you have the effective nuts, you want to load the money in. The pot was about 90,000 bucks. Elton goes for 65,000. I think this is fine and good. If Elizabeth calls, she's gonna have about 280,000 or so remaining in her stack going to the river. So she's gonna have a little bit more than the stack to pot ratio going to the river. Maybe Elton should just bet a little bit bigger on the turn to make it closer to a pot size bet remaining going to the river. That said, I think this is a spot where any chunky bet gets the job done pretty well. He does go 65,000. Chen calls. Let's head to the river.
Another 130 into the middle. Threes full of tens on the river for Elton. And I don't think he's all that worried about being up against a bigger boat as played.
I agree. I would expect 2-pair plus to fire the turn still a lot. I guess the big question for Elton is, can my opponent have a 10? If so, then I go for all. If not, maybe I size in a way to try to get some crying calls out of my opponent. That's 215k, practically pot.
Man, these pot-sized bets polarize us.
I'm never putting my opponent on pocket threes.
No, of course not. Why would you? That's why Elton plays it this way, though, because, you know, you just never have anyone thinking that's what they're up against.
So value range that I would perceive to be up against, right? Oh, whoa.
Oh my gosh, Chen rips it in and says, give me 55,000 more. Nasty spot for Elton. Let's see what he does.
Whoa. How is she all of a sudden check jamming?
Oh, look at Elton. He snap calls. And she's got quads. A 3/4 chip pot, is it?
It is.
Did we actually get that much in there? As we were talking about whether or not we'd get $1 million pot, we knock on the door. This is unbelievable because so many people would have let go of those threes on the flop. Instead,
He thought he got there.
Elton peels and the magic comes together for Elizabeth.
Thank you so much.
谢谢你.
Elton snaps it off. And I don't really fault him for the snap call, given the pot is now $700,000 before his remaining 50K or so. But at this point, you have to ask, is she ever value betting a worse hand? I mean, probably not. Maybe she thinks Jack 10's the nuts or something like that, although most people will not. Maybe she's randomly running some absolutely crazy bluff, but this is a spot where I think you're going to be beat 100% of the time, maybe 95% of the time. So even though you're getting amazing odds, maybe you should fold. That said, this is the Triton Poker Invitational cash game, so pay the 50K and lose to the quads. That's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, do me a favor, click the like and subscribe button down below, click the notification bell. Thank you very much for being here, and I'll talk to you next time.